Hello and welcome to the Blessings in the Streets podcast, Marathon of Merit Special Edition series. I am your host, Joseph B. Roberts, and in studio with me today is a lovely couple that I've had the opportunity to know for a little while now. They are actually my brother and sisters in Christ. We attend the same church. We're both very active in our marriage ministries. And they're just, again, just a phenomenal couple to be around. Just always full of joy, laughter, and good times. And it's just been a pleasure making their acquaintance and enjoying some fun times along with them. And they've been so gracious to take some time out of their very busy schedule to hang out with us for a little while, to share a little bit about their journey, specifically as it pertains to their marriage, with the hopes of inspiring and encouraging and uplifting others who are either currently in your own marriages, or maybe you're thinking about getting married, but you'd like to get some advice and some insight from somebody who's already actively doing this thing and trying to understand, what is it going to take to make for a long lasting, loving marriage. So it is my privilege and honor, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce to you not only my brothers and sisters in Christ, but somebody that I actually consider to be friends of mine. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce to you Mr. Desmond Hutchinson and Miss Shelly Hutchinson. Desmond, Shelly, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank
Absolutely. Absolutely. So before we get started, I do want to give you an opportunity to share a little bit something about yourselves with our audience, who you are, where you're from, and what you do. So if you would, just kind of give our audience a little bit of taste of who are the Hutchinsons. It doesn't matter which one of you want to start first. I'll leave that up to you.
you. My name is Shelly. I'm from Kingston, Jamaica, and we own a cleaning company. So we do cleaning in office spaces and stuff like that.
Cool. And Desmond?
Yeah, Desmond Hutchinson from the beautiful, beautiful island of Jamaica, man. Yes, sir. Yeah, born and raised. I am from Oturis. Oturis is a tourist area, so I worked in the hotel business there for 10 years before I moved to the U.S. to go to school in Ohio, which was a bit of a shock in terms of the weather. You're moving from an average of 85 degrees to Ohio, where it's my first Christmas there was like 5-6 inches of snow. So that was kind of a shock. But yes, I did hotel and restaurant management. Then I moved to Texas, and I worked in hotels for a while. Then I went to staffing, and we now own a small cleaning company where we clean offices, clinics, just about any kind of commercial. We mostly do commercial businesses instead of more, and on the lesser end, residential. But that's what we do now. Sometimes we are either cleaning ourselves, or we do have some employees that work with us, and we're planning on growing. God has been good to us and blessed us to the point where we are today. So we're looking for bigger and better things this year.
That is awesome. And I know Shelly, of course, as of late has been putting her skills together with crocheting. She's crocheting a little bit of any and everything. She's got practically crocheted a whole wardrobes together, So, Shelly got some skills. All I know is 1 minute I saw her dabbling with it like it was a brand new thing that she had never tried before. And then it seemed like in a blink of an eye, she just had all kind of products going all over the place. So, very, very talented couple we got on board tonight.
Yeah, it's been fun. I've been making some bookmarkers today and some crochet cross. So I'm learning a little new stuff.
Awesome. That's cool.
It's
That's
fun.
cool. And if you would share with us, how long have the two of you been married?
So this year is going to be 24 years, December 23rd.
Okay.
It's going to be a 24th year.
Wow, that is awesome. Awesome stuff. I'd love to hear that. And is this, just for clarification, is this both of your first marriages, or have you been married previously?
No, both of our first marriage.
Awesome. So that's even nicer to speak of. We got 23 plus years going first time marriage. So you guys have been hanging in with this thing for a long time. And I know you have a big family. How many children do you have?
We got 5 kids,
5.
3 boys, 2 girls.
Awesome. Awesome. And what's the age range for your kids?
So we range from age 4 to 22.
That's a
We
big
got a
span.
4-year,
Yes.
4, a 10-year-old, 15, a 17, and a 21.
Awesome. Awesome. And was it your daughter just recently graduated, correct?
Yes,
Yes.
our
That's
older daughter graduated from high school, and she's getting ready to go to TWU to study culinary.
nice. Nice. That is awesome news to hear. And again, they got great parents to model after, to doing their thing. So again, it's just such a pleasure to hear all of these wonderful things just right at the onset of the show. And I'm excited to learn more about your marriage journey, because I know that what you have to share is going to be a blessing, not only to myself, but to our listeners as well. So with that said, let's jump right into this thing. So, I'm a big, I'm really firm when it comes to, the importance of understanding the foundation of where our journeys and our stories began. And we're not going to do anything different this go around, specifically as we talk about the marriage journey here, the marathon of marriage. And so my first question that I have for the two of you, and again, we can pick which one who starts first, and then the other one can fact check the other one after they've spoken. But what I would like to learn from the two of you, and for my listeners to know, is how did the two of you meet, and what was it ultimately about one another that led you to believe, you know what, I think I want to spend the rest of my life with this person. So, who's going to start off the story, and who's going to fact check?
I'll start the story because I talk the truth about this story, and it's my favorite story. So
No, you don't.
I'd like to start. Yes, because you don't remember all the details.
Yes,
But
I
No,
do.
no hiding, Shelly. I need to see your whole face up in here as he's telling us. I need all the reactions and everything. So
this is the first time you're going to see a black face turn red.
Okay.
Yeah.
all right,
Nice.
so give me the story, Desmond. How did it happen?
So actually, I just came. With the hotel I used to work for, I used to travel for business.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to do sales in the Midwest. So I just got home, just got off a plane, just got home, and my phone rang. So I answered the phone, and it was her calling me. Now, I've never met her before. Never met her. She said she got my number from a friend of hers that was telling her about me. So we ended up talking, and I haven't even unpacked or anything yet. So, because I just walked in the house, the phone was ringing, answered the phone, and I was like, oh, okay. So I was like talking to her. We talked for, I say, a good, maybe about 2 hours or so. And then, as I said, we've never met. So we were talking, and then the next day, she called again, and we talked for about a couple of weeks, and then we went on a blind date. So I lived in Ocho Rios, she lived in Kingston. The distance is about 2 to 2.5 hours. Okay. So I drove to Kingston to meet her. We met at the Carib movie theater, and we were going to see the Shanghai Noon with Jackie Chan and Owen Wilson. And we went to see that movie. It's a hilarious movie. And I was standing across the street, and I saw her. I brought my friend with me.
I brought my friend too.
I brought my best friend because I said, if this doesn't work out, I joked and I said, if she doesn't look the way I think, then you're going to be me. And it's not, so, but then I looked across the street and I saw her because I knew the friend she brought with her was a friend who gave her my information, and I knew her. So I, by process of elimination, I said, that must be her. So I really liked what I saw. And I was like, whoa, okay. Well, you're on your own. So I told my friend he's on his own. And I said, yes. So we went to the movie. We had a great time. After the movie, we went to Morgan's Harbor, which is like a little port area. It has a lot of history behind it. It's kind of where the pirates used to come in. Have you seen that movie? It's kind of based on that area right there.
Hmm.
But there was a nice restaurant over there. My friend was working, and so we kind of went over there, had something to eat, and then afterwards I dropped her home. And this is where the pursuit begins because obviously she liked what she saw. And I mean, when I say stalked, I meant stalked me for days. I would get to work and I have a message that she called. And she had my cell phone number, but if she don't get me my cell phone, she would call my office. I mean, I would be getting like two, three messages, and I mean, this stalking. I didn't know the word stalking because we don't really use that word in Jamaica. But now that I know it, I've been using it a lot because that's what happened at the beginning. So yes, but it was good. We started seeing each other. She started coming down to Otorios, and in Jamaica, you're only a city person if you're from Kingston, country girl, because Kingston is kind of the only city. So she obviously liked the country boy, and so she started coming down to see me. Those days, I wouldn't use the word player. I wouldn't use that word,
Oh, yes, you were.
but but after she started coming around, everybody else disappeared. Um,
I have to mark my territory. Like, I have to start answering
yes, you
phones, girls
surely will.
call. I'll be like, they'll be like, "Or," to let them know that I made to take over. I made to stay, basically.
Hmm.
So,
So yeah.
but yeah, it was very interesting beginning, and to be honest with you, those days I would not have thought 20 we're going into a 24th year with 5 kids.
Wow. Wow. So what was it ultimately about Shelly that let you know that, yeah, I think she's more than just somebody I'm dating casually or what have you. This is something a little bit more serious for me that I think I want long term. What was it about her?
Those days I lived alone, and I used to date um, frequently. I'm trying to clean it up here.
Yeah.
So when I met her, there was the fact that one, I could be myself around
Hmm.
her. I used to use humor a lot and being silly, and I could do that around her. And for me, that was one of the important things, like being yourself, not pretending to be somebody else, not have to. I remember long before I dated a girl that was just such I mean, a neat freak and a clean freak, and being when I met her, I just felt comfortable. I could say what I want with her. I could just be silly around her.
Hmm.
I could wear whatever I want because I'm a very casual person. I wear jeans and t-shirt or shorts and flip flops, and I could be that person. I could be me, and I felt comfortable, felt relaxed, and she didn't judge. She didn't care that I worked at a hotel as a manager. She didn't care what kind of money I made. Never asked that question. Never. It was never important to her. Most people I dated before wanted to know what you did, how much money you made, and
Hmm.
which was kind of a turn off. And for her, that was just not important. It was just my sense of humor, and she liked the tall, dark, and handsome boy from the country.
I love that, man. Especially the fact that you point out, Shelley's, acceptance of you for who you are. Because as you stated, unfortunately, a lot of times when it comes to the dating scene, and even when people are considering the possibility of marrying someone, so much emphasis is placed on things that are not going to be key to the long lasting nature of a marriage. Not to
Right.
say that stability isn't important, or anything like that, but I love the fact that you were able to, that draw that you had to her was, she just took me for who I was. She accepted me for who I am. It was not a judgmental thing. You didn't feel like you had to put on airs or anything like that to impress her. You just had to be you. And
Yeah.
and being you was enough to be attractive to her, to want to not only get to know you better, but obviously ultimately to spend life with you. So, I think that's an old art, if you will, of courting and ultimately, getting together in terms of marriage, that we just don't see as much anymore, like we used to
Right.
see
Yeah.
that type
Right.
of thing. And so it's refreshing to hear you speak of that. And anybody that's tuning in to our episode, I would hope, my hope is that they keep that in mind as they're getting to know and meet people, that you just don't go in with this laundry list of things that they have to make this much money, and they got to drive this kind of car, and they got to wear these designer name clothes and things like that. I mean, again, nothing wrong with wanting, having a set of standards in terms of wanting somebody who's respectful, who's, who, has a sense of humor, has a personality, is trying to do something for themselves or doing something with their lives. Nothing wrong with that, but
Right.
not making it be the dominating point of the conversation, as you said, because it's actually a turnoff when that kind of thing happens. So with
Yeah,
that said,
I mean,
I'm
oh,
sorry. Go
sorry.
ahead.
If he tried to be anything other than himself, that would be a turn off to
Hmm.
me. Because, when we met, I actually kind of fell in love just by talking to him, getting to
Mm.
know him before we even met. And I just felt that connection with him. I wanted more. So I would have to make sure that I kind of mark my spot. Like, this is a guy that I could see myself with, this is a person that I could see myself with. And, surrounding, atmosphere where I'm from, it was like some girls have 3 different boyfriends, guys have 4 or 5 girls. I didn't want to be like that.
Hmm.
I wanted to find someone who I can settle down with, have a family, and just be with that one person.
Hmm.
So,
Love
and
that.
luckily he's it.
That's awesome. So, I know I let him start off with the conversation of how you met. This is your
Boy.
chance to fact check. Did he leave any details out that you want to add
So,
in?
fact, I didn't stalk him. He stalked me, okay? No, he stalked me. And at first, he acted like he didn't want to have a committed relationship.
Hmm.
He was trying to still be a player. And he's trying to hide that he really wanted this, like, oh, let's just be friends and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to get you. So, hey, I just let him think that we're going to have a casual thing. So then he finally warm up to this cuteness.
Ah.
But yeah, it was a good night. We had fun. We watched a movie, and it's that night will forever in my memory, because
Hmm.
it was a great night. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great.
I mean, I think it was just awesome. Even when you talked about like your first, your initial conversation, you spent a couple of hours talking to each other, and you would talk to each other over a span of a couple of weeks before you actually met one another. And, I mean, we know that blind dates happen, but for you to have that conversation, never specifically lay eyes on each other, not knowing what the other one looked like. And then for you, as you said, it was about a 2.5 hour trip
Oh
to
yeah,
even connect.
yeah.
That's a big risk to take,
Oh,
just off of a phone conversation, which lets me know, again, from what the two of you have spoken to, is it was the value of the conversation, the you know the connection through the conversation that made you feel like, what, I gotta, it's worth me taking this time out to make this trip to see if this is really what I'm thinking that it has the potential to be. And I'm just thankful that the two of you decided to take that chance on each other. I mean, because again, we got 23 years plus worth of history to show for it because you did, you know. And it started off from a genuine place where you didn't get a chance to focus in on the external, but instead on what was inside one another, what each of you had to offer. And I think that's a beautiful thing to point out and acknowledge. So
Yeah,
pretty cool,
it
pretty
is.
cool. So we have this whirlwind romance that leads to a marriage, you know. And but one of the things about, you know, marriage, anybody that's been married understands this, and I know, of course, after 23 plus years in the game, you all understand it. There's going to be plenty of great times, great memories, beautiful moments, but then every now and then, along the way, there are going to be some challenges, that you face, and big decisions, that have to be made. And so,
Yes.
with that said, I'm curious to know if you would kind of tell us about a time when you encountered a challenging situation in your marriage, that when it happened, you weren't sure, like, how are we going to work through this? How are we going to overcome this particular hurdle, this particular challenge that's before us? You know, maybe you had some fears, some worries. Maybe it was stressful in some way, whatever that thing was. If you would, as you reflect on this question that I'm asking, if you would share with us about a time when that's exactly the moment that you found yourselves in. What was that situation like, and what was ultimately, the turning point where you began to come up out of that situation and overcome that particular challenge in life?
Which one?
Whichever one you feel led to share.
There's a lot of those. I don't know if there's any we can share. We've you know, going into this marriage, you know, I didn't have any examples of what a marriage is supposed to be.
Mhm.
Growing up, I grew up in a very small town in Jamaica, and even the other day we had this conversation where I was telling her that looking back, I cannot picture anyone that I knew that were a couple. It was grandma raising kids or single mom raising kids, but I can't remember anybody that I can say, oh, yeah, there was a couple, it was a good, I can't picture anything. So I had no idea what marriage was supposed. I had my own thought of what it was. I'm sure she had her thought of what it was, and that's where the clash was,
Hmm.
because we were both wrong. And yes, we've had some issues. I think some of the issues that we've had was like the big was money. We fought about money. We fought about um, um, so many things.
I think for me, the biggest issue is when I found out I was pregnant with our first child, Damon. Um, I just came in the country to go to school, and I got pregnant that same day. I got
Well,
Same
the
day.
story goes she got pregnant on the way from the airport because I've been up here for so long, and then she came in, and that's how I tell the story, anyways.
Anyways, but then I had to make a choice between college and having a baby because financially we weren't stable
Mhm.
because he was just here for a couple of months and the plan was to me to come up, go to college, and it didn't happen. So we had to sit down and have a come to Jesus conversation because we have another baby coming in the world. We don't have any family, no support system at the time to help us. It's just he was the only one working, and we had to decide what we were going to do. And that was, I think, one of our biggest issues that we have. So we just kind of talked about it, and we decided that, we're going to have this baby, and I'm going to put college off for a while. And that's the decision that we made, and I'm glad that we did, because I think our son also helped us a little bit closer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that we made that choice to have our baby and, work on it. And he was working a lot. So that also was an issue because we didn't get to see much. He had 2 jobs. So the only time we will see him is for like when he's asleep. He just be home for like 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of put a strain. But then, we talked about it. We communicate. I understand, and we just kind of work through it.
So it was one of those situations where, the pregnancy, and then immediately I kicked into providing mode. So that was what prompted me to say, okay, I have one job already, I need another one.
Mm-hmm.
Because now it went from just feeding one mouth, which is just me, to then she's here now, so 2, and then now we go to 3 on this meager salary that I had at the time. So it was provided mode. So that also put a lot of strain because she was new to Austin, didn't know how to get around either to go to doctors and stuff. And we didn't even have a car, so now you got to do everything on the bus. And it was really, it was tough working 2 full-time jobs, and then it really put a strain on us. It really put a strain on the relationship, and we did argue a lot. We back and forth. Then in the end we kind of we talked about it. We when our son was born and seeing that little face, his chubby little face, and we just kind of said, I decided I have to do what I have to do to provide for my family. And at the time, I thought what I had to do was keep those 2 jobs. She's at home. We're going to have 3 mouths to feed. So I had to, even if it killed me, I had to do 2 jobs. So
it sounds like to me, ultimately, the key for you all being able to overcome this challenge was really, as what you all have stated, is it was the importance of you all talking it out, kind of communicating with each other and expressing how one another felt, acknowledging those feelings, and trying to come up with what was going to be best for the ultimate big scheme of things. Obviously, Desmond, as the man of the house, you're looking at it from the standpoint of, hey, I want to be around my wife and my my son more often, but I got to provide, and so you went into provider mode, and again, because the 2 of you communicated about that, even through the midst of the challenge of it all, like you said, it in the long run, it ended up working out because, again, it was about making sure that we can keep the family together, that we can make sure everybody is fed, that the basics are taken care of. And I think, Shelly, you had even mentioned that just having that first child actually, in its own way, even in the midst of the struggle, that actually brought you 2 closer together, because now you had to, you truly had to be a team to work through. Work through it all, and that's so important, and that's why I appreciate so much in the transparency of you sharing this, because so many couples have been in this very same predicament, and they didn't last. Like I said, they got into those same, probably similar arguments that you all got into, but then it was easier for them to just say, you know what, forget this. There have been men, unfortunately, who, they didn't step up like you did, Desmond, to assume your responsibilities. They said, you know what, this is too much for me. I can do bad by myself. And they just leave that woman raising their kids or kids, and they're gone on doing their life, doing whatever they wanted to do, leaving her hanging to face that challenge alone. And then even to what you said, Shelly, you had a big decision to make. You came to the
Yeah.
States wanting to pursue your education, to put yourself in position to do whatever it was that you were pursuing career wise. And then now I got a baby. There
Yeah. I
again.
look at it like, also like, I went from, because I was 18, I went from living at home with my mom, then being married, then to being at home, get married, and then having a kid. I had my son when I was 20. So everything was a new experience for me. I didn't know how to be a wife. And now here comes being a mom. So I'm learning on the job.
Right, right.
Basically, I'm learning it as I go. And also, I always know that God will provide.
Mhm.
That's always been a thing for me. Even though it's hard, I always know that God will provide. And he always come true. And also that love, that genuine love that I have for him, and it never goes away. And even though when I'm mad at him, I still remember, I still have that feeling that I
Hmm.
have that when I just met him, I always go back to that place. So that kind of also helped me to understand him more and just kind of get over stuff and forgive him and whatever the case may be, because I genuinely love it, you know?
That's
So yeah.
awesome. And I'm glad you just in that nugget of that moment right there, you dropped a few key points there. First off, you acknowledged the fact that you always knew that God would provide. And so again, for
Hmm.
our listeners, and this is something that, we've been trying to drive home throughout the course of this special series about Marathon of Marriage. In order for you to survive that marathon of marriage, God has to be in the mix of it, because there's just going to be some challenges, some burdens, some weight that as married couples you're going to face. But if you're just trying to do it on your own strength, on your own abilities, you can only do so much to where it becomes too much for you. But as long as God is connected to that marriage, now nothing is impossible, no matter how dire the circumstances may appear, no matter how challenging the situation may be, knowing that God is there and he's going to come through, that all is what's most important is for the two of you to stay together and allow God to lead the way. Nothing is too big, nothing is impossible for you to overcome. So I truly do appreciate you, pointing that out. And then I love the fact that you pointed out that, yeah, there are some times when, yeah, I'm mad at him. He's mad at me, whatever. But
Hmm.
at the end of the day, I still love him, and it's genuine. I mean, so much so that the same love that I felt for him from the very beginning has sustained over the span of time. And that's critical to know too, because as married couples, if we keeping it real, even as believers, sometimes we don't like our spouses very much. They get on that first, that second, and that last nerve.
Hmm.
But if you are truly, in this thing for the long haul, while we might have those moments where we don't really like each other at a particular point in time, we're not really feeling one another. That love should never die, and that love should be something that sustains the test of time. That's why it's so important. Again, by having God connected to your marriage, one of the things that you're supposed to learn is about the importance of unconditional love. That it doesn't matter that our money is low and tight right now. It doesn't matter that things are hard right now. We love each other no matter what. We're in this thing for the long haul, and we got God that's watching over it all to make sure that we're going to be able to sustain that even in the midst of these storms. We're not going to be defeated by this. And again, the two of you are still standing strong 23 plus years later. You didn't allow those difficult times to get the best of you to where were ready to just throw in the towel and give up. And that's why it's so important that, in you sharing your story as you have, because this is a very common thing that happens in a lot of marriages. But unfortunately, many of them don't survive. And you didn't survive because you were lucky. You survived because you had God at the center of it all, and you made it a point that you were going to stick together. You stuck to your vows, through sickness and health, for richer or for poor, in good times and bad times. You didn't just say those words. You actually have embraced them and lived that throughout the course of your marriage, which is why it has lasted as long as it has, and which is why I'm confident that it's going to continue to last until that time comes with one of you gets called home to, to the next phase of where we are to be in, with God Himself. So love what you guys are representing and what you're speaking to in terms of your marriage. And I think it's truly going to be a blessing to some people who are tuning in. So appreciate you sharing that. So, again, I mentioned earlier, part of that marriage journey, part of that marathon of marriage involves big decisions that have to be made. But as you know, as married couples, even in the midst of big decisions, we don't always see eye to eye. And sometimes we're so far on opposite ends of a particular issue that, we find ourselves at an impasse. But nevertheless, the decision has to be made. A judgment has to be reached. And whether it's a big financial matter, whether it's a big move to make, a new job opportunity, it's a variety of things that could come up. So, with that said, I'm curious to know from the two of you, when you find yourself needing to make a big decision, but the two of you are at an impasse because you're on total opposite ends on what should be done. What is your process that works best for you that allows you to reach that decision, even though you both see it totally different than the other sees it?
Well, I think for us, most of our big decisions are easier than little ones, to be
Mm.
honest with you. Because I said a lot of big decisions like moving. Like when we moved from Austin to San Antonio, that was a big decision, but it was easy because it was for me. It was a promotion in my job. So we talked about it and we both agree. Oh, okay, we'll move. When we moved from Antonio to here, that was also another big decision. Because our kids were a little older. They have their friends. They didn't want to leave their friends. But again, this was actually a bigger promotion for me. So that was actually not bad. Now, one of the biggest decisions I think we've made is after we started the business and I was still working full time, had a great job. And the decision to leave the job, leave that money on the table, and then to rely on this small business, that was a huge decision. Because now the question was, okay, how do we replace that salary that you're leaving? And but I remember she went to church during the prayer time. She went and prayed, and Sister Scroggins prayed with her and shared some experiences with her. I was kind of like, but there were some things that happened at work that made the decision easy for me, but at the same time, I was still hesitant because of. But that was something we talked about for a long time. And the best part about that was, we prayed about it too,
Mm.
because early in our relationship, a lot of things we didn't pray on. We didn't bring it to God. But, for the last couple of years, going to church, getting baptized, and realize the importance of having God in everything we do has really been more of a blessing. So this decision, we prayed and we kind of, one of the things I learned the other day listening to Dr. Stanley was sometimes we pray, but we don't listen.
Mm.
We don't listen to God. We take our problems to Him, and then we go down on our knees, we pray, and then we get up as soon as we pray. But and that's something I learned because I'm guilty of it. I pray, I tell God my problem, but I never stop to say, wow, I need to listen.
Mm.
So we did a lot of praying and we kind of leave it in the hands of God, and we've been blessed. I have to say it's been over a year that I've been out of that job, and we've survived with God. We have survived with God. And, when things get tough again, we prayed and we prayed and we prayed and we prayed. And things have turned. Things are turning. Things are. are getting to where we even thinking about next year, we need to get out of this apartment, So it's important. We've come so far in a relationship, and it hasn't been luck; it's been blessing,
Mm-hmm.
So. But yeah, we've talked about that decision a lot, of me stop working, and she had concerns, I had concerns, because we still have 5 kids. Our oldest son is in the Marines, but we still have 4 kids living with us that we have to take care of and ourselves. So. But it's in the end, she stood by me and stood by the decision. As I said, she took it to church. She always, and I'm not one of those people like, I don't like people doing my business kind of thing. But she will just go for it and say, well, we need to pray. And she went into church and prayed, and here we are today.
Love that. Love that. And again, one, appreciate your transparency, but also this is a very common thing that happens in marriages, because clearly God placed a vision in your heart as far as a work for you to do. And, but, just as with any vision that God gives us, it's not always going to be an easy, path to take. There's going to be some sacrifices that have to be made. There's going to have to be a testing of your faith, to say, Lord, I got this good paying job with benefits and everything like that. And I got kids still at home. I got a wife to take care of. And you're telling me that I need to put all that aside and walk away from it and hope for the best, if you will, that this new business venture, especially when you have so many small businesses that don't survive, that I'm supposed to just walk away from that and make it happen. So to hear you speak about such a major decision and then emphasizing how important the prayer piece of it was, because you understood this decision is bigger than me. We're all going to be impacted by it, but I need a source that I can tap into that's going to let me know yay or nay on this decision. I mean, because as you stated, in the beginnings, perhaps of your marriage, you didn't always seek God out for those decisions. You kind of decision comes up, you make the decision and hope for the best. Now you've matured in your walk with Christ to where you're like, you know what? Let me take this to God. Make sure I'm not jumping the gun and just doing something, just kind of flip it, if you will, but instead having God's blessing on this and his confirmation that this is in fact something that I'm supposed to do, even if I don't even know exactly all the steps as to how it's going to play out. Because I'm sure when you prayed about it and felt like you got that confirmation from God, he still didn't reveal to you exactly how it was going to work. You had to trust that, the business was going to come, the contracts would come, the money would be made, and we'd still eat, we'd still have clothes, we'd still have a roof over our head, transportation to drive. But that required your faith in God, and as well as your obedience in that process. So I love that you are emphasizing that point of prayer. And again, for my listeners, please take heed. We're not saying that the Hutchinsons have been able to take this big leap like that and make it because they were lucky. They're understanding that no, this is God's blessing, this is God's covering, this is God's protection, making ways out of no way. And in some instances, until you go through an experience like that on how God can bless you, I know to some people who don't understand what that feels like and what that looks like, and you share your stories like you're doing now, and they're thinking, that can't be true. How did that happen? How did you walk away from a good paying job, start your business a little bit over a year ago, and you telling me that everything is okay? You're not struggling. You're not starving. You're not homeless. You're not. Nope. We're doing just fine. And we actually, not only are we doing just fine, but we actually have, God is continuing to show us more and more that this thing is not even done yet. We just scratching the surface. It's about to elevate to higher levels and more opportunities and more blessings are on the way. So this is what it means to be in relationship with God. This is what it means to rely upon God, especially when we're talking about, obviously for our special series here, in that marriage. If you want to survive that marathon of the marriage and all of the big decisions and even the small decisions that come along the way, along in that journey, God's got to be connected to it. I promise you, it's when God is in it, it makes things a whole lot easier, a whole lot smoother versus when you're a husband and wife just trying to wing it, or you're a husband and wife where one or both of you are taking a selfish approach and just doing what you feel is best for you and not taking into consideration everybody else. So again, I appreciate you sharing that. Good stuff. Good stuff. So
Yeah.
Desmond and Shelly, we might have somebody that is going to tune in to this episode, and they're in a marriage right now that they may have gone through some of the challenges that you discussed. They may have some other challenges that maybe we haven't discussed, but are very common in marriages. And they're at the point now to where they are ready to give up. They're done fighting for the marriage. They don't want to deal with the challenges and the storms that come along with it anymore. They're ready to wave the white flag and give in. If you had an opportunity to speak to any couple right now that is currently married but thinking about giving up, what would be your words of advice to them as to why they should continue to fight for their marriage and not give up on it?
Well, the first thing I would ask is, why are you in it? It's about the one thing that, there were times when we had differences, and we used to look at each other and we used to say, why is it that there are two people who love each other so much and don't know how to make this work? And, it might sound cliche, it might sound corny, but the love that we've had for each other, we still have, is kind of what normally comes back around.
Mm.
As we mentioned earlier, there were times when, we didn't pray, we didn't bring our situations to God, but we do know that we love each other, and if people are struggling and going through stuff, there's nothing that you're going through that cannot be fixed. And if you can't fix it yourself, you shouldn't try to fix it yourself first. You should pray about it. You should pray with each other, and seek some counsel. Seek some counsel, and just remember why you got together in the first place. If there's love, and we're not talking about the fake love. We're talking about real love. If you got real love for each other, then of course everything else can fall in place. That's one of those things that love itself, you can't fake that. If people talk about fake love, it's not love, it's something else.
Mm.
But love itself that the Bible talks about, that God gives us to share with each other, you can't fake that. So if you have that as your foundation, then everything else can just fall in place. You might just need some help. You might need to talk to somebody. You might need to pray about it, because that's one of the tools that we have now that we didn't have, that we can pray about things. We can, but we've always communicated.
I mean, no marriage is perfect. We've had a roller coaster, and you just have to decide if this is the person that you want to spend the rest of your life with. Just talk about it. Figure out just gonna remember what brought you guys together in the first place. As long as it's not anything that's abusive, and that's a part you should walk away. If it's not, if it's abusive, then it's time to get out. But if it's something that you guys can sit down with a counselor and have a heart-to-heart conversation about, then do that. Try and work it out. Spend time with each other. I mean, the kids to grandparents and just have that one-on-one togetherness. Try to date each other again.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Yeah, date each other again.
I was gonna say because we've actually done that.
Yeah.
We've actually done where we started dating like like actual date like we did in the first place. Like we'd pick each other. I'd pick her up and then we'd say, hey, we're going on a date, and like go through the like we're just starting to meet or something. But yeah, redate. Stuff like that.
Redate each other.
And I was
Out that sparks again. Take a night at a hotel. Get away from the kids. Have some quality time together. Just kind of have that romance again.
Love that.
Oh, yeah.
And in fact, Shelly and I just literally had a conversation about that just recently. She was saying to me, asking me about me and my wife, of course, and what do we do? And she's like, we need to get together. We need to get out here and date, and and just have some fun and do some stuff. Get out the house and just the kind of things that you spoke of. I mean, because you both are basically saying the same thing in your own way. When Desmond first started, you talked about, before you decide you're ready to give up, basically ask yourself, why did you get together to begin with? Go back to the beginning. Where did that start? If you can remember and hold on to what brought you together, then that should be inspiration on why you don't want to ever let that thing go. Even in the midst of the challenging times and the crazy moments that are going on. Like you said, Shelly, if you got an abuse situation, we're not asking you to stay or encouraging you to stay in a marriage where your life is in danger. But even to that, you can get out of the situation, for safety's sake. And if the two of you are ultimately willing to, or have a desire to want to try to save things, even if something as extreme as that has taken place, then you, like you said, you bring in a third party, bring in a counselor, preferably a Christian counselor, because and I say that because you want somebody who's going to speak foundationally from what God says about how to handle these things, but you bring in a third party that can sort through it all and figure it out to help you to kind of draw out of you, why are we here? What is going on? And what do we need to do? What steps do we need to take moving forward to try to salvage this thing? And, and of course, making sure, that I'll add on to that is just making sure that the two of you got to want to fight for the marriage. If you're at having a challenge, a battle that's going to potentially break this marriage up, even if you were to seek counseling, it would do no good if the two of you were in counseling, it would do no good for one of you to be actively engaged in the counseling and the other one just sitting back, not participating, not actively trying to do what it's going to take for us to save our marriage. And so those are all key things. Don't be shy about the counseling. Don't take on that mindset of, I don't want everybody to know what's going on with me. Well, if you can't figure it out, you need to bring somebody in. I wouldn't say just bring anybody in. You need to be selective as to who you bring in, but bring somebody in who's going to be a neutral party, who's going to be skilled and, and in such a way to be able to, again, bring the issues to the table that need to be brought forth so that a logical, practical approach, again, that's godly based, can be reached with the hopes of being able to restore that marriage. And then, of course, as the two of you stated, sometimes it might just be something simple as you might need to just start dating again. You might need to, again, take it back to the beginning when it was new and fresh and remember those times. What was that build up point that got you interested in each other, had you starry eyed at each other, had you calling each other or not wanting to hang up the phone when it was time to get off the phone and stuff like that, kind of those
you hang up. Yeah, you hang up. No, you hang up.
Right. You hang up. No, you hang up. Those simple moments, but they're simple moments, but they're powerful moments that are so significant and so key for the long run of the marriage. So absolutely. I love this conversation. And again, I appreciate so much your transparency.
Now, I gotta say,
yes, go ahead.
I gotta say, it's, I don't want everybody to look at this and think we're perfect. We're far from it. We are far from being perfect, but every day we try to be better. We try to be better. And sometimes as guys too, we think we know everything, but we really don't. And, one of the things that I really like, especially our church does, is that Iron Man group, and it really helps. So sometimes when we have like issues in our marriage, we can join groups like that. Sometimes you share with another brother, and that will help. I know like Chris and I have become friends, and we talk sometimes. But going to the group, like I know even on the radio from 100.7, they have this program for men that you can go. I mean, it's a little pricey, but it's really worth it. But they have these seminars for guys that if you're struggling with anything at all, you can go and have people you can talk to and stuff like that. In other words, as men, we're never too old to learn, and we shouldn't be too in ourselves that we can't learn something else to that's going to benefit your marriage, your relationship.
Love that. Love that. Because what you're basically speaking to is, part of your ability to, have that longevity in your marriage is that you do have to have that circle. It has to be the right circle of community around you. People. So like you said, as a man, I need to have, you're a married Christian brother. I'm a married Christian brother. I need to have brothers like you that when I'm going through, in my marriage, or, I'm dealing with some personal challenges, that I should be able to reach out to you. You should be able to reach out to me, and I can trust you with my truth. I don't have to worry about being judged, but at the same time, I know that you'll tell me not what I want to hear, but what I need to hear. And you'll do it from a place of love. You'll do it from a place of understanding. And most importantly, you'll do it from a place of how God sees, how I should be approaching that situation. So, and the same thing applies to the ladies in the marriage, by having, women in their lives that, again, are on the same level in terms of their foundational belief systems. They're also perhaps married Christian women as well, because we all know, both as men and women, probably not the best idea for us to talk about our married problems to our single friends, because they're going to give us a single friend answer to a married situation, and that single friend answer is probably not going to be the one that we need to listen to, because a single friend is going to say, "Hey, bro, we just need to go on out here and." And whatever happens. Well, we don't need that, because that's going to get me in trouble. That's going to get me to possibly walk into something or do something that I don't need to be walking in or doing. And the same thing can happen with the ladies. Oh, you forget him, girl. Just come on out. We're going to go out here and we're going to do this and that. And, and again, you end up walking into something that you may have some regrets afterwards, and it didn't even have to go that. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sometimes a single friend, might want to get to your husband. So
That's
she'd
true
be like,
too.
hey, you shouldn't even, she'd be in the corner kind of lurking around, because she probably hear some good stuff about him. And she'd be like, okay, you don't want him, I'll take him.
It could be that. You saying that, but it
you
could
never
be that.
know,
I mean, there's a reason why they say misery loves company. So sometimes that single person could be, sometimes that single person could be envious of your situation, and they would love nothing more but to see that fall apart so you can be single with them, or like you said, or that they can have an opening to step in. Those things those are realistic things that can happen. So, the circle, the community is important, but you also need to be selective as to who that is, and who you're, opening your world up to, so that you don't do things that could be harmful to your marriage, that could be, cause you to make decisions that are going to be detrimental, because you're consulting or tapping into the wrong people with the wrong information and the wrong motives. So again, to my listeners, that's something else that you want to be key in, an alert and understanding that, be cautious of your marriage, be protective of your marriage. You can't let everybody in, you can't tell your marital business to everybody. And that even includes, relatives, loved ones, and, because you will forgive your mate for something. You'll all get over it, But that person, you tell the wrong person, they'll still hold grudges and still feel some kind of, you ought to move past that issue, and they still griping about it because you shared it with somebody that you probably shouldn't have shared that with. So everybody doesn't need to be in your business of your marriage, but there are appropriate times and appropriate people that when facing challenging situations that you can trust, that you can pour into because of their, again, where their standing is going to be, where their intentions are going to be, where their motives are going to be or not. They're going to be pure and they're going to be in alignment with the way God would have for them to come alongside you in that moment of difficulty. So awesome stuff. So before I let the two of you go, again, it's been an awesome time with you, sharing your marriage journey, learning a lot from you, things that I feel like I can apply to my own marriage as well as for my listeners. I'm sure there's some nuggets that you've dropped that they can apply to their respective marital situations. But again, before I let you go, two things I wanted to find out from you. One, first thing would be, do you have any final thoughts that you have as to some keys to success that you think as married couples, if you do these things, this will increase the likelihood of you having a successful and long-lasting, loving marriage? So I'll start with you, Shelly. What would, if you had a couple of points of things that you say, you do these things, I believe that this will be tremendously helpful to you having a sustainable and long-lasting marriage?
I'll say, first of all, put God first. Communication. Spend time with each other. I know when it comes down to kids and work, but by the time you come home, we're so tired. We just want to go to bed. But try to have a date night, like a Friday night. Use a Friday night for specifically just date night. Have somebody watch your kids. Just go hang out. Just go for a ride. Just spend time together.
Love that. Desmond?
Me? I would say definitely the same way you courted each other at the beginning and you got the girl, do the same thing to keep the girl.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Whatever you did to get the girl, do the same thing to keep the girl. Because I think a lot of times we forget, we take things for granted. And then we fall into this monotony of the relationship because we stop doing the things we used to do. In the beginning, it was vibrant, it was lively, you're having fun, you're smiling all the time, you're making her laugh, but then once you get the girl and you're married, all of that falls apart. And I know reality kicks in, so I'm not trying to be unrealistic, but we got to go back to why and how we get the girl and keep that spark alive. And, if you can do that, because it's hard to get the girl, but it's even harder to keep the girl. So we got to. I think it's about going back to the beginning and keeping that mystery and that fun. Don't forget how, and do the same thing after.
Yeah,
and communication too.
Sure.
I totally agree with you. Because as you said, it's so easy to kind of get into that mundane rut of it all. We get up, we go to work, we deal with the kids or deal with the other responsibilities. And then, like you said, by the time things settle down, you're tired, you go to bed and you repeat the cycle. And before you know it, weeks, months, years go by and you're still together, but emotionally you've kind of distanced from one another because you forgot how to, like you said, maintain that spark, maintain that fire. That's a conversation that I know that I've had in my own marriage and many marriages have about, you have to be intentional about it, because if you're not, it's very easy for you to just, like you said, get into that routine. I got my little, just in our house, I got my own little man cave. It's real easy for me to go to your corners. I go to my space, you go to her space, the kids go to their space, and it's rinse, repeat. It's just, and you'll get into that, that standstill, that stagnation, if you will, in your marriages. And that's not healthy for any marriages. So I'm glad that you pointed that out about the importance of keeping it fresh, And like you said, you use the old school, ideology is, whatever you did to get them is what you got to do to keep them. Always
Yeah.
keep it fresh, always keep it lively. So important, so important. So, as is customary on the Blessings in the Streets podcast, I always want to take an opportunity to celebrate, to acknowledge, to show you some love. So if you got any exciting news, whether it's as a couple, whether it's, personal, professional, anything that's coming up or going on in your lives that we can, again, celebrate and acknowledge and lift up, I want to have that opportunity to do so at this time. So tell us any exciting news we need to know about from the Hutchinsons. What's going on? What's
And
happening?
we have another baby coming, so
Knock it
I'm
off.
kidding. I'm kidding.
That's it. You go wish yourself up. You go wish up another baby. Then she go come to church.
No,
Like
that
Kelly's
would
looking
take,
a little.
that would definitely
That
that
would
would
take
take an act of God.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
can't deal.
Well, our daughter is going to college, so we're really excited about that. She should start college in the fall. So yeah, my other daughter should be getting her driver's license pretty soon. So
Mm.
we're excited about that too. So those are our excitement.
Yeah, we have just our kids is excited.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
but I've been crocheting, so I kind of put some of the things that I made
mm-hmm.
on Macari website.
Oh yeah, we posted some
So
stuff on Mercari, and we did that because it's one of those websites you can post things, and there's no fees that
Mm-hmm.
as a seller you have to. Yeah,
yeah.
so it's good. So, so yeah, anybody out there, Mercari, Tia, buy some stuff.
Oh, my cute crochet stuff that I made.
Yeah, so I want you to
So,
repeat
yeah.
that, Shelly, because I know, again, like I started off at the top of the show, and for my listeners may not be aware of this, but Shelly is really, really good at this crocheting and has made a lot of different items out there, kind of a little bit of something for anybody. So I just want you to tell us again, if somebody is interested in checking out your stuff, seeing what you have, and possibly even doing business with you, what is the best way for them to connect with you to find out about your products and services, or just even for your cleaning business? What's the best way for people to connect with you if they're in the area, if they're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and they're interested in your services? What's the best way to link up with you guys?
So our cleaning business, it's Lynette Cleaning Services. You can call us at 972-246-9934. For her crochet stuff, it's on mercari.com, and it's under Tia. So yeah, she has all kinds of stuff. Really so proud of her that she just started in December, and she's putting so much hours into it. She's a pro now.
I know.
And she's doing all kinds of stuff. We went on a date night to see the Bob Marley movie, and the top and the skirt that she wore, she made them. So it's really fascinating. Fun. It's really so yeah, check those out. But yeah, our cleaning business, our phone number, you can reach us there. We're in the process of building a website. So, but for now, either text or call us to get more information.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, again, it has been a blessing having the two of you on, sharing your story. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, learning more about you and your journey. Again, as I said earlier, I know I've been blessed. I know my listeners are going to be blessed. And I'm so glad that you accepted the invite to be a part of this special Marathon of Marriage series, because we need stories like this. We need to hear, of how imperfect people, work together with God at the forefront and making marriages that are just phenomenal to witness, even in the midst of challenges and storms that come along with them. But nevertheless, they're surviving, they're long lasting, they're flourishing. And again, this is just a testimony of what God intended our marriages to look like. So I thank you so much for sharing. And for my listening audience, if you've enjoyed our content, our discussion tonight about marriages, and you've been encouraged and inspired by it, please subscribe, please share, please like, please comment, because this is what the Blessings in the Streets podcast is all about. We want to encourage, we want to uplift, we want to inspire. And particularly with this special marriage series, we want to see more and more marriages thrive and strive for excellence, for greatness. Desmond talked about earlier about he didn't have an example coming up of what that looked like, and many of us have been in that same scenario as he has, as Shelly has. We didn't get a chance to see what beautiful, prosperous, loving, God-led marriages look like. Well, here's an example of one. We have other examples that are going to be a part of this series that's in line with this. And we want your marriage to be the same way as well. We want to see and hear about the successes and the accomplishments and the blessings that have come out of marriages that have lasted 20 and 30 and 40 and 50 plus years. We want to see more of that. But it's only going to start to happen for us to make that turnaround, for us to bounce back from these marriages dropping off by the wayside. We got to get God back into it. If God is not currently in that marriage, you got to put him in there. And I promise you, not telling you something that we heard, telling you something that we know from personal experience. If God is in that marriage, there's nothing too big, nothing too insurmountable for you to overcome in the course of the various storms and challenges that are going to come along the way. God is in that thing. I can promise you, you're going to have a healthy, strong, loving, long-lasting marriage that will have an abundance of memories, too many to even keep count of. So with that said, remember, here at the Blessings in the Streets podcast, this is the place where your story is your glory, where your relationships are relevant, and your journey is your joy. I am your host, Joseph B. Roberts. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, I want you to keep fighting that fight, especially in your marriages. Keep fighting that good fight. Keep leaning into God, allowing him to be your guide, your eyes, your ears, to navigate you through all the challenges, the ups and downs, and the ins and outs of marriage. And I promise you, it'll be a wonderful experience. God created marriage. It's one of the most beautiful things that he has ever designed. And if you've been blessed enough to meet that special someone and you've made that commitment, then that's a commitment that you should stick with. Don't ever allow the world to tell you otherwise, that it's not worth the journey. It's not worth the battle. It's not worth the fight, because, no matter how challenging it can get for us, when you are in it, as Desmond said earlier, when you love, like not the fake love, but the real love is there. Again, it's a wonderful, special, and awesome experience that I would want anybody to have the opportunity to experience if you're so, desire to do so, and God has led you to that special someone that he designated specifically for you. So until next time, you take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful evening, and I look forward to seeing you next time on our podcast. Take care.